It's the best local sports show in Jacksonville. This is the Action Sports Jax postgame show, sponsored by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Oh, let the off-season begin, baby. It's over. It's over. History, 15 straight losses. That's one of the longest. I think it's the 10th longest losing streak in NFL history. I think I showed you that last week, didn't I?
You've been keeping an eye on that.
I've been keeping an eye on that.
And if they get to, what is it, 16 or 17?
Once you start getting up there, it moves up quick.
Like top five.
Because there's a lot of teams tied for it. But Jags
Trevor, we're going to need some wins next September.
Yeah, Jags just lost 28-14. You know, they fought hard, which was good. They can't stop the run. They're hideous at it, but they have nobody. I mean, there's guys out there. Again, today I saw a new Jaguar, number 5. I don't know who that is. I thought it was Blake Bortles for a second, but it wasn't. So it's a post-game show. Ticket and Martineau. Jags lose. Thankfully, hallelujah, it's over. We're going to hear from Doug Marrone, who will be fired in all likelihood. Wink, wink. Will be fired here in the next. The clock starts now, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could get a statement in the next 10 minutes, or it could be tomorrow. I mean, who knows?
They fired Gus Bradley in Houston 1 year, and Marrone took over for him. Marrone will be let go. The staff will be let go. And then we'll see who the new coach, who the new GM, who the new quarterback, who the new players. A lot of new coming for the Jags.
Yeah. We'll talk about all that coming up here on this postgame show because there's really not a lot to digest from the game. But like you said, and I know we get tired of saying this,
I know.
But I do think it's fair to point out. I mean, listen, that's those guys' profession.
Yeah.
They got nothing to play for.
Yeah.
They could have folded the 10 a while ago. They're not very good.
They're terrible.
And they're playing against a team that's highly motivated.
Yes.
You know, the worst thing, we've done this a lot, right? What's the worst thing about a losing season? That last road trip when you're not in it. When you're not in it. It's like the worst road trip there is, right?
The only good part is the post-game interviews because guys like kind of open up after.
Yeah,
they feel
that's true.
They like to let it all out.
Yeah.
They feel like they can finally say everything that they want to say all season.
But you're so glad it's done. And these guys were down 20-0 and they didn't play like they were so glad it's done. So you give them a nod. It's a young group.
Yeah.
Did they learn it? We won't know this. But did some of those guys that are going to be here learn something from this year that they can take forward?
Number 45 played pretty good today.
Really, the last month he's played a lot better. You got to go deeper into the numbers, but he's played better. Miles Jack was awesome again.
Yeah.
Andrew Wingard I don't think will be with the Jags, but he might stay in the NFL because of today's game.
I think he will. I think listen, they used him up. Remember how Barry Church used to come up and stop the runs? Well, I mean, because Jonathan Taylor absolutely
it's like what
flayed
Jamal
him.
Adams is doing in Seattle now.
Lost on the terrible side. Jonathan Taylor ran for, I don't have the final number.
241, I think.
No, it's 250s.
Oh, it's now in the 250s, that last run.
So, look, we've got the up-to-the-minute playoff picture, which is basically now decided. You want to start? You take the NFC?
Did we get a final from Houston yet?
Yes, well,
I'll start in the NFC, okay? Green Bay wins, so they got the number 1 seed. New Orleans wins, but they get the 2 seed. So Green Bay gets a bye.
New Orleans hosts Chicago. Yeah.
And Chicago in because the Rams with Johnny Wolford end up beating the Arizona Cardinals.
Right,
Kyler Murray banged up, so Arizona's out. Chicago's in. Nagy's going to stick around. Who knows if Trubisky will, but it's New Orleans against Chicago. Seattle against the Rams. We'll see if Wolford plays in that game. That's a battle of a good defensive team with the Rams against the Seattle team that's weird sometimes.
Yeah.
And then Washington has a chance to win tonight. If they don't, the New York Giants will be the NFC East champs. But look at this. The NFC East is going to win it at 6-10
or 7-9.
Or 7-9. Yeah, true.
And then the Bucks will go. Bruce Arians got what he wanted because he wanted to go to the NFC East champion.
Absolutely.
And that's what he will do.
He's the big winner.
By the way, Brady looks really good.
The Bucks look
so
good.
in the AFC, Kansas City lost to the Chargers. They sat everybody. That was the route that they took. They get the bye. So Buffalo may be the hottest team in the NFL right now. Their only loss in like the last 2 or 3 months was the Hail Murray, right? Okay, so they're 13-3. So Indy goes to Buffalo, all right? Pittsburgh gets Cleveland again after playing today. And then Tennessee hosts Baltimore.
Maybe. Tennessee's still playing Houston.
Oh,
They're
it's
up
not
by a
over?
field goal. That game's not over.
Okay.
And so Indy and Tennessee could flip-flop.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I don't know if I guess I would rather play Baltimore than Buffalo, but both are tough games for the AFC South.
Okay, we're looking at Tennessee-Houston right there, by the way. Deshaun Watson has it, 48 seconds left. That thing's going to go to overtime, mark my words. Yeah, this is King Henry. Congrats, over 2,000 yards.
Yes,
rushing.
So big day for locals. King Henry from Yulee, 2,000-yard season, leads the NFL in rushing back-to-back years. And John Wolford engineers in his first NFL start, big spot, gets the Rams to the postseason, which means the Jags now have a worse draft pick. One thing, though, about this.
Big sack on Watson right there, by the way. Third down coming up for them.
6 and 10, by the way, if the Giants end up in.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins will miss the playoffs at 10 and 6 in the AFC.
And a lot of concern about their rookie quarterback. And if they end up picking third or fourth,
which they might. Right now they have Houston's third pick.
Might they consider?
I think they could.
A QB again.
If I were them, I would, because they're got a pretty good football team, and Tua doesn't look the part.
He doesn't look the part. No. I'm stunned.
Of course, he didn't have Fitzpatrick in there today.
I think arm strength is so important.
It's a different game in the NFL to college. You didn't have any questions about Tua at Alabama. You got a ton of them at Miami.
This is what happens on the post-game show as we await Doug Marrone in his last press conference after a game with the Jags. In all likelihood, 3rd and 13 for Houston. Deshaun Watson going up top. He's got a guy open, and he hits him at the 30. Yeah. What a great throw.
They'll go to at least overtime, it looks like there, or Houston will come back and win. That's the way. Hey, it's been a fun final week. Really, the final weeks have been fun around here, right?
Hey, let's get ready for next weekend. 3 playoff games Saturday, 3 playoff games Sunday, national championship Monday.
Pretty good.
And by the way, the NFL did it. They completed their regular season.
They did.
And a lot of the naysayers in the media who all came out like in April and May, no way, no way, no way. Hats off to those who didn't listen and those who persevered through. Because it was a monumental task.
Yeah, and a lot of buy-in from the players. I mean, but again,
we are grateful that we had football this year. That's for sure.
And so grateful that the Jags will end up with the number 1 pick. I mean, now what happens is this football game is set aside, and Doug Marrone is going to come to the podium here in a moment. But when we're done talking about Doug Marrone and listening to him, we'll talk a little bit about what's next.
Yes.
The next regime potentially. Yes. Trevor Lawrence potentially. Yes. Did Fields get his name back in the mix? That's coming up.
Deshaun Watson going up top. Incomplete. 26 seconds to go.
Here is Doug Marrone, although it doesn't look like they're set up yet. So we'll hang on.
I think he's
here. He goes. Here's Doug Marrone after the loss, 28-14.
Go ahead, talk.
Are you ready? Can you hear me?
That's better.
Perfect. All right.
Hey, first of all, I want to start by saying, Floyd Little passed away the other day, and he was he traveled with us to London. He was close to our program, and my thoughts and prayers. Obviously, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and has been around the program. And his wife Deborah and his family. Our thoughts and prayers go out to him. To their family. So I just wanted to make sure I said that before we get started. So, all right.
All right, we'll go ahead with Mark Long and then John Reed.
Hey, Doug. Obviously 15 straight. Have you talked to Shad Khan? Do you have any time set up tomorrow where you're going to meet with Shad about your future?
Yeah, I mean, and all that stuff started coming out yesterday. I gave him a call. He said it was news to him, and he would talk to me on Monday, and didn't really give me a time yet.
And one more game, where you guys, showed good effort. I mean, how proud of you of the? I mean, 1 in 15 is not a lot to be proud of, but how proud of you of cleaning up the locker room and getting this team where it looks like it's potentially close.
Well, I think, a lot of things. I mean, I appreciate the effort, and the professionalism of all the players. I feel that we have, some really good coaches on the staff that have done a nice job, keeping everything together. And whatever happens is going to happen. I mean, I know the record doesn't reflect it. I know that I'm a good football coach, and, I'm looking to have, an opportunity, and, we'll see where it goes. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Let's go to John Reed.
How you doing, Coach? Just wanted to kind of ask you, are you preparing just whatever happens? And was there a distraction for you to hear all the talk about Urban Meyer that came out yesterday and Friday?
Well, I think, it's the same thing. I'll tell you, I give a lot of credit, and I want to make sure I say this to, and I don't really ever go outside. Ian Rappaport wound up texting me the other day before he broke the story with his sources. And I'll tell you what, I have a great amount of respect for that. I really do. In other words, he was able to get that to me so I can prep my family, my children. So, they don't have to, hear it from their friends or anything like that. And I think that, that's something I'll always appreciate. I think that when the record is what it is, I think, you have to be able to expect those things. But like I said before, I asked about it, and it was like new news for us. So, we'll see what happens.
Quick follow-up. Has it been difficult for you? We were in the same situation last year with that ESPN report. How has that been? I mean, do you just deal with it or what? I mean, it's like the second year in a row with a report, and obviously, you have to alert your family. But you've been in the same situation 2 years in a row, and just
I worry. I tell you, John, the way I look at it is this way. First of all, the first thing that really comes to my mind is obviously my family. The second thing comes to the coaches and players. I don't want it to ever be a distraction to them. As far as myself, I've been very fortunate and been, gifted with, great opportunities. And, I know who I am as a coach, and, but I know I'm not going to make excuses. And the one thing that and I'll be honest, the one thing that's always saved me in difficult situations or anything adversity, where I grew up. I didn't grow up in, getting things handed to you and all that stuff. I mean, you had to earn shit, and you had to work your butt off. And, if you were a bad player or you couldn't play a sport, people abused you, made fun of you. You didn't run home and cry, and you didn't cry to the coaches, and you didn't do those things. So, there's a lot of things that happened, in my life growing up that have prepared me, that were a hell of a lot tougher, than the situations that I'm going through now. And I think, that's just me. That's how I personally look at it. I mean, growing up where I grew up, it's tough, and, I was fortunate that I always had good friends. I had great coaches. I had great teachers that, cared for me. But, you got to have a callus, when you're brought up in the Bronx.
No matter what. Thank you, man, for everything.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Let's go over to Mia O'Brien.
Stop, Alex. Go ahead.
Hey, Doug, just curious. Obviously, I know another tough loss, but what was the message to the guys post-game? I know you had said last week, the concept of it's a new year, it's 2021, let's get a win here. What was the message to them today?
Yeah, I think, we talked about it. I normally end the season of, hey, how I, the record obviously is terrible. We understand that, but there's always a relationship, a family type of atmosphere that's created amongst players and coaches. And I usually end the year with one thing. Hey, listen, there's going to be change. There's change everywhere. We understand that when you don't play well. And I told him, I said, look, the one thing I hope that at the end of the day, and I've said this many years to many teams that I've coached is, hey, listen, first thing, hey. Be a great family man, be a great father, be a great husband, have faith, and, go back in your communities and do well and make change. This game has taught us so much, and it's given us an opportunity to do that. So, that's kind of what I spoke to the players about afterwards. And then, tomorrow we start at 7:30. We have our team meeting, and then we go with our exit interview. So that's pretty much our schedule. But man, that's what I've always believed. I think that, when we walk away and, we can look at games and scores and records, but, what has the game done and how have we improved as individuals from our character standpoint as we go through life? Because, me, I'm probably on the backside, because like I always tell my wife, big dogs die early, you know what I'm saying? So that's probably going to be me, but that's a pretty good one, wasn't it? I do say that all the time. She gets pissed. But anyway, these are players that have most of their life ahead of themselves. So you always want to leave with a good message. And at the end of the season.
You're the man, Doug. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Mia. Let's go to Sam Kavaris.
Hey, don't tell me that I'm 10 years older than you and I'm your size.
And you're a big dog too. I know.
Right. And let me tell you, you don't have that callus. Growing up in Baltimore, it's the same thing. I get it. Doug, what happened with stopping the run all year long? Did it have to do with guys opting out, guys getting hurt, having to run so many guys through there?
I think there's a couple of times where, I think, crack replace, we're in man coverage, and, the corners get caught inside and the ball gets outside on us, where we just got to keep that discipline. Obviously missed tackles. I think when you look at where, when you go back and you look at things and you look at the yardage, the first thing you say, hey, listen, is there anyone there? I mean, if there's no one there, then that's obviously schematics, and you haven't put your players in the best position. And then I think you look at it and say, okay, hey, when all these yards are given up, or, in any game, you got to look to see how they are, crack replace, missed tackle, an unblocked player on a sweep, the toss play, which is a good play, a good call. And then, there's 3 missed tackles, on some of those runs. So, at the end of the day, those are the things that you can't have, because if you're looking at it defensively, the way my philosophy has always been, everyone's responsible for a gap, so, if someone's in that gap and they're not to be able to make that play and everyone else is doing their job, it's going to be very difficult for people to overcome that unless you're in a 2 gap type defense, which, we're a 1 gap defense.
Do you see guys like Chason and Josh, when he's healthy, obviously, being sustainable guys to stand on that defensive line no matter where they're playing and be productive players for several years to come?
Chason, who was the second one? I'm sorry, Sam.
Josh, before he got hurt, obviously.
Oh, Josh Allen? Yeah. The one thing is I've always, there's always a lot of trust and faith with someone that's always available and coachable. And I think Chason has shown that. And I think that, even today, he made some plays and so he's consistently starting to make plays at a pretty good level. And I say that because it's not going to be what we expect. I mean, there's always going to be pressure when you're taking in the first round, the plays you should make, but he's continued to work hard and continue to up his production from a standpoint of affecting plays, and I think that's a positive. With Josh, I mean, he got hurt. I mean, I've been going day by day. I think, Devon Hamilton was another one that started to increase his production, as he started playing. So I think with a lot of young guys, you look to see, how they start, and then really how they finish. And then, then the key is really for a lot of players, it's a week or 2 weeks, and then you really got to get back into, getting yourself ready to go, from a body standpoint, and then, work your way technique down the road, get yourself built up. So, there's a pretty good plan of action, that I've always talked about the players. I've been fortunate. I've had a couple of players that, like I said, played 15 years, they were on a pretty good program, to make sure that they can, establish that and be consistent. So, it's early. I think it's early. I think you gotta, you always got to be careful of jumping too far ahead, and either, building someone up to be, too big, or sometimes you got to be the other way too. If they don't really produce the way you want, you can't just kill them. So I think it's just a matter of time. And usually, you'll see, back-to-back seasons or, 3 seasons in a row, and that usually sets those players apart.
Thanks, Doug. I'll bump into you somewhere.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Let's take one more from Demetrius Harvey.
Hey, Coach. I understand it's a disappointing end to a pretty disappointing season, but are there any positives that you can take away from this year? I know you haven't had much time to reflect yet.
Yeah, I think there are, and I appreciate you asking that question, but I think I'm going to, go back to the same thing. I think that, I just think about the people. I mean, really, I'll stick with that. I'm not going to talk about, the performances. I think of, how easily it would have been to, point fingers, how easy it would have been to, just been a nightmare, what I'm saying? When you're not winning and you're not making plays and you're not playing well. But, for some reason, these guys stuck with each other, stuck together, supported each other, just kept playing, trying to give us everything we had. Coaches were the same way. I mean, we talk about players all the time, but the assistant coaches, they were great. I mean, there was no corners being cut, nothing like that. We were trying to get ourselves ready. So I think at the end of the day, it shows, some resiliency to a certain point of, a lot of times you get too much credit for it, and I don't want to get too much credit for it. I give the credit to the players and the coaches. I mean, really, they did they did a hell of a job of keeping everyone together during times where it could have easily have been, it could have easily gotten ugly. I mean, we all know that, and we've seen that before. I'm sure, like with sports.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Yep, I'm good. If anyone has anything else, D-Rock, you didn't ask a question. Were you pissed or what?
He bet on you guys to win today. He told me.
Cole didn't ask me a question. He's probably pissed off. I mean, what's going on?
Mark asked kind of what I wanted to ask, so I just let him do because he's, annoying as anyway. But I do have one more if you've got a quick second. Do you look back on how the quarterback situation worked out with Minshew and wish that maybe things had been different? Had he come to you earlier with the injury, things might have been different?
Nah, I mean, again, I mean, it's going back, and then, I'm not that guy. I'm not gonna go in there and talk about that. I mean, I know those guys have given everything they had, all three of them. You know what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for. You really can't. I mean, you can't point fingers, blame it on, I mean, that's just, what kind of example are you for, your players, your coaches, your family, community, whatever it is. I mean, you got to accept what you have and do the best job you can. And that's what I've always tried to do.
Is it hard
tonight
to go home and sleep just not knowing about your future?
I'm more right now just trying to make sure my family is okay. You know what I'm saying? When that stuff starts coming out, it's brutal. And then once I know my family's okay, I immediately, like I said before, I go to the coaches, because like I said, we've got good coaches, and I worry about them. And my goal, if things don't work out, and I'm not, is to make sure it's not about myself. It's going to be making sure I take care of all my coaches, and they're too good to be out of it.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Looks like Mia and Mark are back. So.
Oh. All right, that's Doug Marrone. He's wrapping up. I think he said everything he's going to say. That
I think so. We'll be recorded in case he says something else. I think it is important. It's you can tell he's worried about the family stuff and the rumors that have come out over the weekend. And by the way,
he went through it in Buffalo, and with the family, it's tough.
And we do a story later on tonight. If this is it for Doug Marrone, and the crazy thing about it is if you look at what was said about him coming out of Buffalo, and the way he'll leave Jacksonville if this is it, which we think this will be it, and there's an appreciation of Jags fan. There's not he's not a villain necessarily around here like he was in Buffalo. Now, he opted to leave. It was a different situation.
Yes.
But I think he also learned from that, Dan. And I think the family is important. The kids are, well, he's got a high school senior.
Sure.
They all hear all this stuff.
It stinks, man. I mean, look,
it's not just him, by the way. Listen, I live near one of the coordinators, their family, their kids, from knowing Tom Coughlin to from Gus Bradley to Jack Del Rio. It's not an easy deal.
It's the business.
That guy, it's easiest for him. It's harder for the families.
It is. And he mentioned his assistant coaches and why it's a little bit tougher for the assistant coaches, and especially their wives and their kids. They got to turn around. They got to go find a job. Doug Marrone could sit out he can retire.
He could.
I mean, he's fine.
He's made a lot of money.
Yeah. So, I mean, but the other guys, they got to keep grinding. They got to find jobs. They got to move. They got to, that's the hard part. So, anyway, it is what it is, but they all know that going in.
They do.
It's a results-oriented business. So wish him well. He handled it great. But he's done. His time here is done. The Jags are going to move on. Urban Meyer's the hot name. Some reporting it's close to being a done deal. Some have even reported that he is already assembling staffs. I know some Bull Gators who are suggesting that it's close.
Yeah.
So,
and I've heard a lot of the same things, and obviously he shouted out to Ian Rappaport who said it yesterday. But this has been going on for weeks now.
Yeah.
I will caution everybody about the Urban Meyer stuff on this. The same things were being said about the Texas job around December 2nd.
Yeah.
It said that he was assembling staff and he's ready to go, and then he didn't go to Texas. Now that situation's a little murky.
But the reason why I think it might be closer this time is because Urban Meyer was going to come out and say, he would have come out and said, yay or nay, I'm not interested.
Yeah, he still
if he wasn't interested.
I think that was more
open.
about the Texas job, but he cited health still in that.
Yes.
And I've heard health is a serious topic within his family, whether he wants to get back in or not.
The wife, Shelley, is one who, I mean, she's been through it all with him. I mean, she picked him up off the floor and had to call 911 when he was in Gainesville. I mean, there's some serious ramifications with health, and I'm just telling you what having covered Urban, he is wound tight. And losing does not sit well with this man. And in the NFL, you have to learn how to lose because, bro, you lose 6 and you've had a great year. You're 10-6, and that stuff eats at you. So
what has he learned? He left Florida a mess. He didn't leave Ohio State a mess.
No.
Did he learn something there? Maybe. Has he learned more as he's gotten older? He's 56 years old.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll see. I still think whether the Jags want him or not, this is up to Urban Meyer whether he wants to get back in or not.
I think
there better be some other options out there just in case.
And he's not an idiot. He sees what we all have been telling you about this job. He sees Trevor Lawrence.
Never get another opportunity
He
like
sees
this.
salary cap room.
Yeah.
He sees the fact that he will be in charge to run his program. So, and who knows? I mean, we can talk about the successful college coaches who've made the transition, like Jimmy Johnson and Pete Carroll. We could talk about a bunch of college coaches who failed at the NFL.
Yeah, Spurrier and
Saban. You got to have a quarterback, baby.
But what I would warn those people in that discussion is it's a different era. Lamar Jackson wouldn't have been the MVP 15 years ago in the NFL.
Right.
It's a new league. Kingsbury's the coach in Arizona.
Yeah.
Carroll's doing well. Rule's the guy now in Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing. But who knows? We'll see where it all lands. First things first, and to be fair to Doug, they haven't made a decision. And a lot of times these things come out like right after. I keep checking my phone.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming now, judging by the fact that he just had his press conference. I feel like it. I was in Houston when they fired Gus Bradley. He still had to take the plane ride home. The team it wasn't great form. So I think they'll meet tomorrow. And Shad will tell him, and that will be that. I mean,
Well, what this is an indication of is they didn't tell him beforehand, and he said
Correct.
that too.
Correct.
Sometimes a coach will know beforehand.
I mean, if you put the percentages, I'd put it at 99.99999, right?
I mean, I would think Doug Marrone would put it at 99.9999.
He knows. You can't go 1-15.
Nobody knows the NFL better than Doug Marrone. He knows how it's played. He knew halfway through this year. In fact, he was maybe the most surprised guy in the room. He came back this year after last year.
I always think in hindsight, if I had Doug Marrone privately, as we take apart his career, look at what he did here. His first year here, he was so good, and everything went right. And I always feel like he went kind of players coach route after that, and I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
I think that was a big mistake. I think when he lightened up on those guys ran roughshod over him, and I know how angry he was with Jalen Ramsey, for example, in Houston, and what he wanted, and yet he backed off. And I just think that
that wasn't his MO in the past.
No,
but he separated himself from Coughlin to try to save the locker room a little bit. But it did change a bit. He changed over the course of his tenure.
Oh yeah. He listen. That first year, those guys were ready.
For good or for better or for worse.
That first year, those guys were ready for to mutiny after training camp.
Yes.
Then they went to Houston and kicked out of the Texans. Sacked them 10 times. Savage and Watson destroyed them. And all of a sudden, hey, whoa. We got something here.
Yeah.
And then they kind of played through that 500, up, down. Then they got hot and won a bunch of games in a row, made the playoffs, and played great football.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I'm not sure he would have got another job in the NFL as a head coach if it weren't for Tom Coughlin.
Yeah.
But during his time here, he also had to navigate some things. Obviously, the Coughlin situation with players. Obviously, the triumvirate of Caldwell, Coughlin, Shad. That's an interesting power structure. How much was he pulling the strings? How much was Tom Coughlin saying everything? And then the Jalen Ramsey, the Yannick Ngakoue, all the quarterback situations. I mean, he had to handle a lot of different things.
And then ultimately, once Tom left, it fell into Marrone and Caldwell's lap, and they got worse.
And they got worse.
They went 1-15 this year, and they told us that they love this team. They love these guys. They're going to be a good team. Well, none of that was true. They may love them, but they were terrible.
And the irony of it is, I believe they both signed off on Minshew to be the guy.
Right.
Traded away Foles, and then halfway through the year, he wouldn't go back to Minshew.
Right.
Based on whatever did happen with the loss of trust and the injury, and that will come out in a book someday, I assume, because we still really don't know all the details of the Gardner Minshew situation. So anyway, we haven't had any news yet.
No.
Do we have any other players?
No, I think we're done.
We're done.
We miss Glennon, but that's okay. You guys don't miss Glennon.
We have
we got to look
Sports
ahead.
Jags prime time.
By the way, we locked up the 33rd pick as well today.
Because of the loss.
Yes.
Yeah, we would have flip-flopped with the Jets
Correct.
if we had won.
Yes.
So 133, no.
We get the first pick in each round, right? Now?
Yeah, so 120-something because of the Rams,
Yeah.
33 and 44.
Yes.
I think in the first couple rounds.
Fantastic.
That's a heck of a load. And the number one pick,
It's
meaning
basically
Trevor
3
Lawrence.
first-round picks.
Yes.
Except poor number 33 doesn't get that first-round money, but
Pretty
nonetheless.
good. Well, the team wouldn't mind having him for an extra year, too. They won't have control over him.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not just the player. All right, the Action Sports Jacks primetime tonight, 10:30
right.
on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47. We'll see what else happens in the NFL, and we'll keep you posted on any news that could happen. Plus, tonight we debate, is Trevor Lawrence definitely still the guy after that college football game
stop
the other
that.
night?
You stop
I mean,
that.
should we bring that up? We do it later tonight on primetime. Have a good night, everybody.
It's the best local sports show in Jacksonville. Thanks for watching the Action Sports Jacks postgame show, sponsored by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.